We now will be commencing the session on the theme Global Value Chains, Adaptation of New Technologies. I request all the delegates to please take their seats as we proceed into the panel discussion. May I invite our esteemed panelists to please come on the stage. Dr. Alok Dev, Corporate Vice President, Samsung Electronics, South Korea, and Chief Technology Officer, Samsung R&D Institute of India. Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, IAS. I request Dr. Alok Dev to please come on the stage. I invite Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, IAS, Principal Secretary, Department of Telangana Industries and Commerce Department and Information Technology, Electronics and Communications Department, Telangana. Mr. Prabhakar Chaudhary, Managing Director, HAL Robotics Private Limited. Dr. Rahul Walwalkar, President and MD, Customized Energy Solutions India Private Limited, and Executive Director, India Energy Storage Alliance and Vice Chair, Global Energy Storage Alliance. I invite Ms. Alice Wu, Founder, CEO, Export Portal, California. The session will be moderated by Dr. Anil Vaidya, Professor of Information Management and Area Head of Information Management, SPJ Institute of Management and Research. May I briefly introduce you the moderator of the session, Dr. Anil Vaidya. Dr. Vaidya is Professor of Information Management and also holds responsibility as Area Head of Information Management at SPJ Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai. He was an industry practitioner for 33 years in CIO roles in MNCs such as Philips, Ron Holland, and Power Grades. Post-industry career, for the past 8 years, Dr. Vaidya has been a full-time academician. I welcome all the panelists very warmly, and I request Dr. Vaidya to start with the panel discussion. Let the floor be open for the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everybody. We are close to lunchtime. We know that. At the same time, the topic that we have on the hand is relevant, extremely interesting. I have extraordinary panel here. It's my honor and pleasure to be here with this center. We have government relations by Mr. Hasan. We have corporate delivery of the business by we have presentation over here. So it's a pretty nice, great panel over here. Before I open up topic and I want to set a bit of tone here in terms of what we are doing exactly in these next few minutes. Let me give you a bit of thought. I remember 30-40 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, maybe 35 years ago, when I did my own MBA in US, we used to talk about backward integration, forward integration. Nobody talks about it anymore. We talk about later on we go to the outsourcing, we get to the GVC concept. And today, the GVCs have become pretty normal, and we know that it's happening everywhere now. The focal point of today's discussion is that the new technologies that are coming in, to what extent are they affecting us, and to what extent they will change us, to what extent MSME is going to be participating using new technologies, and that's not the focus. Let me give you some thoughts on this. Think of the manufacturing sector, the plant, shopping, the shop floor. If you think of the 3D and robotics, shop floor is going to change completely, and the way it looks like as of right now. I'm sure you have enough inputs coming from these people later on. Think of blockchain, which is really disturbing the whole financial world. It's not disturbing, it's disrupting maybe, but new startups, the smaller companies are coming out very, very strongly with them, and that's a great thing that's actually happening. On the other side, if you look at the IoT is also changing the way we are doing things all over. Now, why I'm saying these things? Because these are the ones kind of topics that we want to discuss, but we also want to see to what extent the MSME sector is going to be influenced by this. I want to keep it it short for the time being because I want to hear all of them and then maybe getting into the discussion. I will invite Miss Alice Pinu to talk about her own thoughts.
Hi everyone, I'm Alice Pino. I'm the CEO of Export Portal, coming to you here from California. It was a 21 hours flight. Finally, I'm here, and I'm very pleased to be in India and pleased to support the global summit in the common goal we have, that is supporting small and medium-sized businesses to grow and to enter the global market. I can't emphasize how important is small and medium-sized business for the global economy and for the economy of each country. Let's take India, for example. From the last statistics I read, there is 42.5 million small, medium-sized businesses in India, but only 3.4% of them export. Imagine if that percent will grow exponentially, how much more growth this country will have, how much more money will start flowing in this country, and how much more you can do with this money. These percentages same or a little bit different, but also small everywhere else. Let's take Europe, for example. The largest small and medium-sized businesses exporting country is Germany, where only 17% of them export. US is the largest exporting nation worldwide, but only 1% of these businesses export globally. So why is that? Why, with so much going on, with summits such as this worldwide, only a small percentage of such businesses export? It's normal to say it's the risk and fear that a small and medium-sized business has to take when going globally. Let's face it, a small business knows how to produce, knows how to do their product the best, but they may not know how to take this product outside, market it, and sell it. And this is what Export Portal comes into place with a new technology, which is blockchain, B2B, e-commerce platform. What we do is we take this small and medium-sized business by hand, like a parent. We are like a parent that takes that small business and shows them the road from how to take that wonderful product you make, how to promote it globally, market it globally, and how to complete the transaction when you find that global buyer. So what we do is we take this small and medium-sized business, we verify it, and that's very important for security because otherwise there is lots of fraud going on currently, and I don't have to tell you how much fraud is going on in international trade currently. So we take that small and medium-sized business, we verify it thoroughly, and we make sure that they only do business with our verified businesses worldwide. So security is taken care of, and the risk of you getting to contract with a fraudulent business is minimal, or it's zero. Next, what we do, we allow them and we make it easy on them to upload and promote the product they make worldwide on our platform. We hold their hand on how to properly market their brand, market their product, and we find those buyers worldwide for them. And then it gets better because not only that they market the product and they find that buyer worldwide, we are helping them to complete the transaction. So as soon as the transaction is happening, a smart contract is generated on our platform. So now you don't have to go to a lawyer and draft that contract. It's all happening electronically. Next is getting even better because we also handle the payment for the transaction. That is the biggest fear of a small business, of not getting paid or getting screwed in the middle of the transaction. And that's what we do. We are taking care of the payment. The buyer has to deposit 100% of the payment for the transaction in our escrow account. So only then we are telling the seller to go ahead and prepare the product for sale. Next, it's coming to the shipping. And shipping is a total beast in its own. A small business doesn't know how to go and find the best custom clearance, freight forwarder. They need lawyers. They need a room of 10 to 20 people to complete this transaction. We have certified global partners that complete the freight forwarding at the best price possible because they compete to take care of this shipment for that seller. After that, the transaction goes into the custom clearance, and this is a nightmare in its own for a small business because they don't know what kind of forms need to be signed. They don't know the taxation rules. They don't know the regulations that apply worldwide. We are taking care of that for them. We are walking them step by step. And everything is recorded in ledgers because we are backed up by a blockchain technology. Everything is recorded in a ledger in a matter of minutes. Everyone involved in the transaction of importing or exporting is aware of everything transparently what is happening about the transaction. So there is no fear of having duplicate custom clearance forms, duplicate contracts, or any errors that can happen in the middle. After that, you don't lose control of your product because we are allowing the business to monitor or track the product on the ship from the destination, from the origin to the destination. When the product arrives to the destination, they are immediately being informed. And the custom clearance of the destination port is happening. And it's happening again on our portal. You don't have to go outside that. It's happening with our hand holding. So what is Export Portal? We are that parent that holds your hand from the beginning to the end in any transaction. And I was listening to your Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he said it the best. You can have a product, and your product can be the best. But what is the use of that product if you cannot advertise and sell it? You cannot make money out of it. That product will not bring anything into your pocket. So we are that family that you have to join in order to make the export transaction easy. And we need you all. We need small businesses. We need governments. We need ministers. That's why we are here today, to put you all together. And why Export Portal decided to start our 100 countries tour this year with India, because we realize how important is India to the global market. And also, our most number of sellers currently registered on Export Portal are from India. So we are honored to be here today and call on everyone to set up an appointment, a meeting with us, so we can explain each of you the process that you have to take. Thank you.
Can we have Mr. Ranjan talk about the government initiatives as well as what is happening in that area?
Thank you, Professor Vadya. Good afternoon, everyone. I recall about 2 years ago, there's a research institution called Dun & Bradstreet. They had brought out a report in Hyderabad on how the SMEs, which are located in and around Hyderabad, how do they adopt digital technologies. So they had done a survey of about 2,000 SMEs, and what this adoption of digital technologies was categorized across a range of options. It started from the simplest, whether the owner, proprietor of that SME uses an email or not. That is the lowest kind of digital engagement. And then whether he has some kind of an inventory management system, does he have some web page, is he into e-commerce, and finally is he into full-fledged ERP. So starting from the simplest, having a mere email of the owner proprietor, to very full-blown ERP systems is the other extreme. And you'll be surprised at the findings. I was there in the seminar when they unveiled that finding. And the findings were that close to 70% of the SME proprietors owners did not even have an email account. So it's a long way to go. We all know that some of these new age technologies are extremely transformative. They create huge breakthroughs. Returns are amazing. And many of the speakers in the earlier session, before that in the plenary, the General Singh, the Union Minister, all of them spoke about the wonders which technology can bestow. So the view that I want to share is that how do you make them adopt to these technologies? When 70% of the SME owners don't even use emails, I mean, they are really at the bottommost of the pyramid, so to say. Then how do you ensure that they get into very high-tech stuff like blockchains and robotics and AI and all that? So that is one aspect, that the levels of adoption are at a very beginning. But at the same time, there are lots of amazing examples also of SMEs who have actually used these kind of technologies, and their businesses have boomed like anything, particularly when they are part of GVCs, when they are supplying to large global customers, and so on and so forth. In fact, in Hyderabad, many of you will be aware that we have a very strong aerospace and defense industry. In fact, some of the most marquee names of the world today manufacture in Hyderabad. And one of the reasons Hyderabad is seen as a preferred manufacturing destination for the defense and aerospace sector is that there are more than 1,000 plus SMEs who are located there because of the presence of large number of defense PSUs. For the last 4 or 5 decades, all the defense PSUs getting located in Hyderabad have spawned an ecosystem where more than 1,000 SMEs are present today. And I'll share a very amazing piece of statistic. A few years ago, many of you will recall that India sent an orbiter to the Mars. It is called the Mars Orbiter Mission, or MOM. So 30% of the components of MOM were manufactured by SMEs from Hyderabad. So many of them do some very cutting edge work. And again, I won't take names and all, but there is a Hyderabad-based SME which is supplying components to the French submarine called Scorpion. It is one of the most sophisticated submarines, and some of these night vision related products are manufactured in Hyderabad. Similarly, there's another SME which supplies very cool stuff to Israeli-based defense companies. And those who have been able to really up their game by adopting these kind of very innovative technology. So this the submarine SME, he uses 3D printing quite a lot. Lots of designs come to him from Scorpion, and then he kind of uses 3D printing to find out what design fits or is most easy to manufacture. Then there's some back and forth, and so on and so forth. Even using digital technologies has also been found to be very productive by many other SMEs. I know of another SME personally in Hyderabad. They are one of the largest suppliers of Big Basket. As you know, Big Basket is a groceries aggregator, a supplier rather. And this particular SME, which is called Grameen, they procure various kinds of food stuff, including vegetables and fruits, from a multitude of farmers who are all located in different pockets. And this SME actually does the service of aggregation. But at the same time, also see for these kind of businesses like the Big Basket, traceability is very important. At any point in time, you should be able to tell that the product which is bagged in this particular lot was originally sourced from this farmer and he gave it here, it was treated here, there was some primary processing there. So the entire traceability is very important. And they have developed a very uber cool app called Smart Trace, which helps every piece of commodity which today comes into our home, the possibility of tracing it back. And then they have used a layer of artificial intelligence now, AI now, so that the tool is able to tell whose supplies get rejected more, which is the commodity which gets rejected, what are the commodities where maximum number of consumer complaints come. And they are also using this to guide the farmers that, see, if you're not able to get your produce accepted by the consumers, then maybe you should do this, you should do that. So many amazing things are happening, but the adoption is very few and far between, and the pace of adoption is also very slow. When I said that 67 or 68% SMEs don't even have emails, this is not some historical data 20 years ago or 30 years ago. This is a survey finding 2 years ago. So the pace of adoption is also very slow. So in Telangana, on behalf of the government, we have started an initiative. It is giving initially some very encouraging results, but we have a long way to go. What we have done is that we have chosen some, right now the intervention is more in the areas of digital technologies. We have identified about half a dozen service providers, including large ones like Microsoft, and also a couple of startups who have visited some sample SMEs to find out which are the processes which can be enabled better using technology interventions. And then they have prepared a suite of options. They have put a commercial offer around it. And then with the help of SME associations, industry associations, we are conducting demos of all these technology suites. and let us say if some SME comes forward that they are willing to take that suite, part of that cost of that package is funded by the government. We subsidize it. And that is how we expect that this mental block, that technology is only for very elite kind of industries or manufacturing, not for us, that mental block will be broken. And this, in my opinion, is, to the best of my knowledge, is the first time that the government is actually helping SMEs up their game on the technology front. In fact, many countries, for example, I can share the example of Singapore. See, in India, most of the SMEs, their interaction with the government is to basically seek subsidies and protection and some preferential procurement policies and things like that. If you go to Singapore and if you ask the SMEs there that what is the service or what is the support that you get from the government, there is only one support the government gives, which is to help them identify the best, the latest technology which is there in line of activity and help them procure that. So eventually we require a big push to help SMEs in India get into this habit of believing in technology, adopting technology, and obviously reaping the benefits. And when I said that digital technology adoption is hardly 30% or so, that too in Hyderabad, which is supposedly one of the tech hubs of the country. So what will be there, let us say in some Mirzapur or some Bareilly or in some other place, which are also SME hubs, but quite remotely connected with high-tech systems. So I may be sounding quite contrarian and perhaps not very optimistic, but this is how the reality is, and let us figure ways on how do we really collectively push the envelope further. Thank you.
Very nice to hear from him about where SMEs are and what we need to do. Shall we go to Samsung and hear from them as to what you can do for SMEs?
I guess, we've been hearing from manufacturing, export, and I'm going to talk a little bit more from the R&D perspective. What Samsung has been doing in India, how we have been helping the MSMEs already, and what can we do more as we adopt newer technologies. So you all know Samsung products from smartphone to TVs, and you all have at least one product at home. But probably what many of you may not be knowing is, for example, Burj Khalifa, that tower, the main contractor has been Samsung. We have in Korea, Sheila Hotel, which is like 7-star. There is a theme park, and about 25 group companies all together, we are contributing to 20% of GDP of South Korea. What are we doing in India? We have software outsourcing company, Display, Chail is an integrated communications, constructions with Delhi Metro. All together, we are about 70,000 people in India. In Samsung Electronics itself, our headquarters, Southwest Asian region headquarters is in Gurgaon. We have 2 manufacturing units. One is in Chennai, which is doing the white goods, and then one in Noida, which is doing the TVs and the smartphones. We have all the latest ones. The SIPMS facility that the government provided, we are one among them to adopt it first. And the value-added manufacturing is going on around that with a lot of MSME companies. In terms of R&D, we are about 8,000 people between Bangalore and Noida. And as CTO, we look into various aspects of it, make versus buy. And the make part, I'm not going to address too much. We are into entrepreneurships, our own internal innovations. India's one of the topmost patent filers and recognized well by CII and the government. Also, we are the 2 largest center outside Korea in Bangalore and Noida. What I'm going to now talk about is the buy part of it. And when I say buy, it's the whole ecosystems. That what we are not producing ourselves, how can we take it from others? If I just see the whole pyramidal chain, it will be you have an hardware, you have some firmware, you have some middleware, you have the applications, and at all levels, we try to engage people from ecosystems to build it. For example, few years back, we decided Tizen to be chosen as an operating systems for IoT, Internet of Things, that's big. And for all Samsung products, whether it is TV, phone, whether it is gear, watch, VR, car dongles, we are trying to make all Tizen-based products so that it can become part of the overall systems. So we did a Tizen Developer Summit 2-3 years back, and since then, about 300 people, 300 companies have been working with us, and we have launched a project with Telangana Skill Academy also to popularize this Tizen course and take it on online basis also. It's a government certified course. So this is one level in which we are not asking for returns. We are giving our platforms and people are building on top the applications to deliver it. It's their money. Whether it is free applications with some premium, that's up to them. The second level is if you have a solid technology, which we call technology sourcing. You have a computer vision and recognitions. You have a map for India. You have your blockchain technologies. Any of these 3D avatar, we are trying to license from these third parties and build into our products. These MSME and the startups need a platform to get to the bigger market. And therefore, we use that to build it. The third level is the investment part of it. Sometimes we do not know whether we will be immediately needing, but the company is very exciting. And Samsung being a bigger company, we have a Samsung Ventures, Samsung Next. We made their presence now in India. July 17, we started the Samsung Ventures. We just had our first investment, Healthify Me, which is an application. Many in India have been using it for the wearables and smartphones, and we have invested. So that's another way that we are trying to engage with the parties. And the last part of it is even not just B2C, but the B2B partnerships. We have a Samsung Enterprise Alliance Partnership Program. About 500 plus companies have enrolled, and they are building BYOD, MDM for the corporates, enterprise solutions, and we are trying to take it together. So this is how one way from applications to tech sourcing to an investments to a B2B partnerships, we're trying to build our R&D platform to connect with the ecosystem. And the one other part that I wanted to highlight is the adoption and the adaptation of technologies. How do you do that? So just to take an example, biometrics has been sophisticated technology. So we have been thinking how to marry a great technology with a social needs. And one of the things UIDAI, Aadhaar already had, fingerprint and iris and face, but iris-based tablets or the smartphones were not there, integrated, which is required for a service. So we were the first to connect. But what we did is, you have tons of applications that you can do in India. So we didn't try to write ourselves. We did a nice SDK, India Identity SDK. And then about 125 plus companies have been using that SDK to build applications. How not to cheat in the exams, and how to find the street vendors who are unorganized sectors. We did it with Karnataka, the primary healthcare centers. There are many startups that participated with us to give the solutions. Similar way, virtual reality. We have this hardware, the gear that can be used. But we did a project with IIT Delhi 3 years back on Hampi. Detailed Hampi's VR. It took 3 years for us. But recently we have started doing Konarak Temple and the Taj Mahal. So these all are getting released. But at the same time, travel and tourism is a big field. And we decided to work with many startups who are building those contents. We are not into the contents. And anybody who has for learning, for gaming, for travel tourism, we are ready to partner with them to build it. And one more example on Bixby, which is our smart digital assistant, in which this is an AI-based systems. And in that, we have done English, Chinese, Korean. We can only do those many languages. But we want to take it to all Indian languages. Therefore, there are companies with which we are working on automatic speech recognition for Indian languages. And that's again a good example how we can include the people. So there are many more such examples. I'm not going into the list. We have done Make for India, Make in India kind of slogan for ourselves. For example, bike mode. We felt that the safe driving is very important and people have not been wearing the helmets and taking calls. So therefore we thought, can we not put, we partnered with a helmet company and they put an NFC chipset. Just before you board the bike, if you tap your phone, it goes into that bike mode, which means that even if you receive calls, you won't be able to see it, you cannot take it. The other person will come to know that you are driving. If they insist with an extra dial, they can dial you. You can see it, but you can't take the call till you get to 0 speed, quote unquote. Because, with our phones, we can check the speeds, accelerometer, gyrometer, everything. So we kind of combined and partnered with ecosystems to do it. So similarly, washing machine, how to make it more user-friendly to wash our collars, which when it gets dirty onto the same tray. There are fridge that can be modularized. You can only keep it on only certain chambers. So in nutshell, I think we have been following these different models, and anybody who has accessories as part of the Internet of Things, if you have a smartphone and you can do a cover with certain health solutions, anything of that nature, we are available. We will be trying to fit into one of our models and build solutions together for our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dey. Very nice summary of what Samsung has been doing.